Hello and welcome to another video. Today's video we are going to be making this card here where we have this Peony DSP from the DSP called Peony Garden designer series paper. But what's really neat about this is that we're actually going to be using our Stampin' blends to color in this DSP that originally did not have any color. So I'm changing up the card just a little bit for the video just to show you some different ways you can do it. But I thought that I would show you my first sample, and then I'll show you a bit of a paper saving trick as well. And then because I'm using a basic gray card base, I do need to have a liner on the inside. That basic gray is just a little too dark for you to kind of avoid having a liner. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to make this card. So first things first, the pieces you will need. Oh, and I'm using this So Sentimental, not only the stamp set, but the entire bundle, because I'm also using these two dies, which when you get them, there are some very nice shapes. They go right here. And what's really fun is that they actually nest one inside the other, so you can have some really fun layering with those dies as well. And then these are actually scalloped and stitched rectangles, and so that can lead to some really nice sentiment pieces as well. So, but we're not using those today. So I'm going to use the same sentiment. I can't thank you enough because I can never have too many thank you cards. And the pieces we're using are slightly different. So I thought I would use different pieces of the DSP just so that you can have different inspiration for it. Here is my piece. It's already die cut. Normally I don't recommend you die cut it before you actually stamp it, but as you can tell from this stamp, it's really easy to figure it out and put it exactly center. So I thought that that was not going to be a big issue. So here you're going to need a piece of the DSP that you're intending to color, and it needs to be 4.5 by 3 1/4. Then you need a layering piece that's essentially 1/4 inch bigger on both sides. So you'll have this piece here is going to be 4 3/4 by 3.5. And here's the paper saving trick. Remember how we're going to layer this? Da, 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 da. Just punch it out of this so that that way you already have your piece. You're not adding more bulk to the card, and you're saving paper because no one's going to see this cardstock piece that's missing, especially because we're layering it on. So on my original card I had this piece here that's sort of the more muted petal pink here in the background. For this card I thought I would choose kind of a darker tone, but this pattern I liked. The opposite side has a different pattern of DSP that you could use to color. Notice this is in basic gray. This is actually in gray granite. So if you were going to use this piece, you might consider changing your card base to being gray granite instead of having it being in the basic gray. So just something to consider if that was one of the things you wanted to switch out. So this piece we can just go ahead and layer straight onto, oh, and then you need about 7 or 8 inches of this. You really don't need much more than wrapping this around. So you could even, you know, take maybe 6 inches or so is probably enough. I always cut it just a hair longer to make sure that I can do it pretty easily. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal to adhere this cardstock piece because I kind of want to make it as easy peasy as possible for me. I'm just gonna go ahead and layer this on. I also cut it where the sort of pattern kind of went vertical. You could have cut it this way if you had wanted. I thought that this one would be a fun little look. I also wanted it where the opposite side would also be vertical if that was the way I was going to go. So now let's go ahead, let's stamp our sentiment really quickly. I'm going to use the basic gray ink pad. I tried one version using, actually, well, here, let's see if I can find it. Yeah. So I found like a scrap of paper and I used the soft seafoam and then I put it on top and then layered it, and I was like, oh, that doesn't work. Then I did the same thing with the basic gray, and I was like, that's what I need. I was going to try the petal pink as well, but I thought that this card won't have quite as much, so I thought that wasn't necessarily one of those avenues I wanted to pursue. So there's that. Gotta make sure you get your good coverage. go ahead, line that up, and then boop. And there we go. So now we'll let that dry for a second, and then let's go ahead and color our piece of DSP while that dries. It doesn't take long, but I figured might as well. So I did use in my original sample, I did have the center of these peonies. I used the light and dark, so saffron. These are all peonies that haven't yet bloomed. So we'll see. What I might do is I'm going to color the peonies pink, and then their leaves in the petal pink for the peonies, the soft seafoam for the leaves and the stems. And what I might do, just to test it out, so I am going to be putting this right in the middle. I might try to see if this yellow in the empty space looks good. And if it is, maybe I'll do that for all of the rest of the paper. And if it doesn't, then I know not to do that. So let's go ahead. I usually start by adding in my light of the color first, and then I go ahead and I add in my dark for some embellishment, some shadow, that kind of a thing. I don't do it dark and then light. Occasionally I will, especially if it's something I want to make sure is really well blended and it doesn't need a lot of the light. Sometimes I'll do that. It just kind of depends on what I'm coloring. So let's go ahead. It does not need to be perfect, but it's nice to have this really nice, delicate kind of a green here. And again, I know that this piece is going to be covered up, so I don't need to get every little nook and cranny of that piece done. And notice here in this case, because there's so much shading on the actual DSP, that I actually don't need to go in with my dark and have the focus be on shading. I can still add it a little dimension by going ahead and adding the dark color, but I'm not necessarily going to be relying on it alone to provide the shading that these the drawings actually provide. So just something to note there. So there's that. Boop. I'm trying to, you know, mostly stay within the lines, but this is also pretty forgiving. And again, remember, we're going to be covering most of this up, so it's really just as long as you focus on the outside here is probably a good idea. But I do want to get some of that inside so that when I test the yellow so saffron, I can get a sense as to whether or not it's going to work. So, almost done there. And obviously, if you wanted to focus on only coloring some of them, you could. You wouldn't have to color all of them if you wanted only some of it to kind of pop. Or if you really wanted to, you could even use multiple colors for both stems and the flowers. You could choose, I could make some of these peonies in the yellow and some of them in the pink if I wanted. It really, you know, it's up to you how you wish to modify this. So I just thought that I would show you that even though the DSP has its own color options, you can turn it into whatever you like. So I'm going to go ahead, add a little bit of the dark, not much. Again, I told you the drawing, the artists who made these did a pretty good job of essentially shading it well enough where this is not really necessary. But I thought I would add a little bit of something. So. And you'll want to make sure you protect your work surface, and I'll show you why in just a couple of minutes once I'm done here. Oh, see, look, I'd forgotten that one. Let's just use the dark one for all of it. Okay, so there's that. Add a little dark here. So now let's go ahead again, start with my light. In this case, I'm just coloring in the peonies. Oh, and see, look, I found a leaf I forgot. So the good thing of being able to use multiple colors is that it helps you find the, it helps you find those places you might have avoided or unintentionally mixed up here. There we go. And see, these are, if you've ever seen peonies before they bloom, they really do look like these little like balls of petals. So there's that. That looks like that was one too. All right, let's go ahead before I forget. Let's add the little leaf. Okay, oh, I guess that one too. So now let's add a little bit of darkness. This one I think does add a little bit of something nice to it. I think also because I use my light petal pink marker, I think a little bit more frequently than I use my dark petal pink marker. And so I think my light one is starting to dry out a little bit. And so I will have to buy a new one soon. Or maybe just force myself to use the dark one more frequently until they're both used about the same, and then get just a full new set. All right, so I've done both. So now I can actually take a look and layer my pieces and see what it looks like as is, right? And that looks kind of nice. It's very simple. You still have the gray in the background, which is kind of nice. But just to confirm, I'm gonna color a little bit of this yellow on the inside, and I'm gonna see if I like the contrast. Ooh, I think the answer is gonna be no, but let's check. I'm gonna at least do a little bit of this space. And because I know I'm gonna be centering this piece, that works. Oh yeah, see, and normally this yellow is really nice and light, but I think because the gray is already kind of embedded within the background, I think it would look like, yeah, no, that's gonna be a little too stark. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it as is, just like that. And nobody will know that I tested that. And then here's the reason why you want to protect your work surface, whether it be a table or just having one of these grid sheets. Take a look. You can see here, right, it had just this pattern, which is, fun fact, the same one as this one, but just smaller and in gray granite. But you'll notice you can see all of the little flowers that we colored in, all the stems and leaves. So it does bleed through. So make sure you've committed to your piece when you actually create your card. You don't want to make sure you do want to make sure that you have exactly what you wanted chosen. So go ahead. I'll just do it upright so I can layer it there, nice and center. And now I'm actually going to, before I adhere it, I wanted to add my ribbon. So for this, I am going to use my Seal Plus for it. I think the seal would probably be just fine, but I want to make sure that ribbon really does not move. And so you just add a little strip, and then that is all you need, because your ribbon's going to be able to attach to it really easily. So here's my piece of ribbon, and for this, I want it to be center, so you can actually use your grid paper. So there's that. This ribbon, as you can tell, is 5/8 of an inch. Here's the half-inch mark, and it's a little bit more, which is an extra eighth, which is 5/8. So here, notice how it's even right here with this piece. Well, if you count inwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these middle 4 right here is where I have to line it up. So I essentially need to line it up like this, where it's essentially hanging over a little bit on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there's that, and then luckily, usually it's pretty easy to just carry it across and then kind of eyeball it, but you can definitely measure it again if you wish. But I think that is good. Actually, no, that's a little too. Let's do the eye. Let's save the eyeballing for a different day. Boop. Especially because when you can have a bit more conviction there, you can also put it down a little bit tighter, so it's not going to kind of pop up like this on your card. It's going to be a little bit more flat. So now we can just go ahead and adhere it down. And there we go. And then just go ahead and center that piece. There we go. And now I did go ahead, I recommend you just go ahead and adhere this, and I did pop it up. I thought that would look really nice. Oops. Oh goodness. I'm still getting used to the seal. It's definitely one of those things where when you're used to having to adjust your crafting because of certain limitations of other crafting devices, it takes some time to unlearn those movements. So let's go ahead, add some dimensionals. Oh, it looks like I need a new sheet, but that does not make these unusable. It just means I'm going to use my these. I use these for anything that's kind of gummy or gluey. I'm actually going to use, we call these like the bones of your dimensionals. So essentially, I'm just going to pop this guy right there. Let's see. Let's use another corner. So let's do this one. because it'll fit really well right here. And because I want it to be a little bit more protected, let's just go and do one kind of diagonally right here. Ta-da! So now, see, and I've still got usable parts, which is great, because then nobody's gonna like look on the side of your card and say, oh, you didn't use a proper dimensional for my card. Hopefully they'll see it and be like, oh, this person is so frugal with their crafting. How clever, and gain it as inspiration rather than seeing it as some kind of issue. There we go. And like that, the only thing we need now is to add our card layer, which I've got right here. And so that's all we need to do. If we had, if you wanted to, if you had the peony stamp set, you could stamp one of these peonies in this basic gray in like the corner or something. That could be fun. You could even color it too before you adhered it down. I do recommend, if you're going to be coloring a liner piece, that you do color it before you adhere it, just in case there's a mistake that's a little unforgivable. So there's that. Let me know which version you like better. This one's definitely pinker, but this one has a nice fun little muted kind of tone to it. I don't know. Let me know which one you think is your favorite in the comments below, and then we'll see if there's a bit of a consensus. I think I'm actually digging this one a little bit more. I feel like this one, even though it has pink on it, I could probably send it to, you know, the men in my life without thinking that it's a little too feminine. I like that. So let me know if you need any of these products. You can definitely buy them through my online store linked below. If you are choosing me as your demonstrator and you would like to make an order of less than $150, go ahead and use my host code, and that will allow me to send you some goodies in the mail. If you are putting in an order of $150 or more, don't use this code and go ahead and choose your own items that you would get for free through Stampin' Up. If you don't have a demonstrator and you would like me to become your demonstrator, feel free to get in touch and I will help get you a not only an annual catalog, but also the new holiday catalog. And while it has lots of clearly Christmassy themed things inside, lovingly for me, it does not have only Christmassy things. Let me show you them more. Here's this. I love the snowflakes because the snowflakes is applicable to every holiday. Plus, I don't know about you, but I have lots of loved ones who celebrate Hanukkah. And this stamp set here has a happy Hanukkah, which I love. And then, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, and some of them are just kind of like season's greeting and trees. Like that's, and these are cute too, where it's still, you know, sort of holiday-y, but not necessarily only that. Also, the Gilded Autumn set. Oh, sorry for the glare there. This is lovely. You've got lots of great choices here. I'll be making a card with, let me go back, with this set really soon. These are just beautiful. So if you need any of these cards or pieces, or you would like me to make a card with something like this, anything in here that you'd like to see, let me know. But this stamp, this catalog, I can send to you in the mail if you would like. Go ahead and send me a message, either leave a comment below or get in touch via email. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!